Hello, 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 everyone, and happy Halloween. Hello.
I'm here, got my Harry Potter robe.
Potter, yay, I love it. Welcome to Courageous Custody, Real Stories, Real Solutions, with your weekly dose of empowerment and practical guidance. I am Renee Rodriguez, the creator of the Custody Blueprint.
And I am Atra Tarfa, a level 3 IFS practitioner coming to you from Hogwarts. We understand the unique challenges protective parents face in the courtroom, and our mission is to equip you with the strategic thinking and emotional support you need to navigate this difficult journey with strength and resilience, since none of us have actually a magic wand.
So every Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern, we'll go live on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook, bringing you real stories. Get inspiration and insight from stories about courageous parents who have walked in your shoes and emerged victorious in big ways and small, and expert advice. Get practical strategies from us to help you advocate for your children and manage your trauma as you go through your custody case. So let's dive in. And before we start, we are not giving legal advice or therapy.
No, and if you are feeling triggered in any way, we want you to step away and join us when you feel a bit better and say something in the comments. Yeah.
So our Halloween episode topic is facing the monsters, navigating custody battles during Halloween.
Yes. So I love that we're going to talk about this topic on today. How fitting and appropriate, because during a custody battle, emotions can feel overwhelming, especially around holidays like Halloween. And that's sort of the start of this holiday sort of season. And that can amplify family tension. I think actually around this time, for the Jewish culture, Rosh Hashanah has been going on as well. And so it can really amplify family tensions and triggers unresolved feelings that we may have in us. So with, an internal family systems lens, the monsters can be understood as maybe parts even within ourselves, those exiled parts I've talked about that can carry some deep pain and fear or sadness around rejection or feeling left out during some challenging times. And any holiday can really trigger memories of family unity or can cause sadness around loss of those moments or your family not being the way that it is now, like it was before. So just being aware of those tender parts in the system and knowing that there are other protective parts that really want to sort of maintain status quo and keep things, orderly and sometimes lead to emotional detachment in a way, because that's sometimes kind of the only way we can get through things so that we don't get overwhelmed, to avoid feeling super vulnerable during that custody battle. And there are other parts, like I've talked about before, that may emerge to distract us from the pain and engage in maybe avoiding certain topics or certain places or certain conversations, certain people, those types of things, to really help us get through the festivities of the holidays. And those parts can be in conflict. Also, understanding that the co-parent has parts too. And so those firefighter parts can be in conflict with each other, the ones within you and then the ones within the co-parent that you're dealing with. So we can see a heightened sense of activity during these times and a lot more shenanigans that we see during the year typically. Yeah. So knowing that these parts can come up in us, we really want to talk about how we can balance these sort of holiday expectations and maybe some of the tensions that can come up with working with a co-parent. What do you think about that? Just from a strategy point.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of, I think there are just a lot of things that we want to change. I think sort of what you're talking about, which is a big one that I like to talk about, is your expectation of the holiday versus the child's memory of the holiday. Like what we talked about in the preparing for the narcissist holiday shenanigans workshop a few weeks back. We were talking about the fact that, so much is riding on that day. And there's only so much of that we can control. But it turns out most of it is under our control. For people who celebrate, Christmas, I know we're talking about Halloween. So Halloween's on October 31st, right? So we've got trick-or-treating or that type of thing. But one of the things that I talked about in the workshop that we had was, it's these days, especially in our society, every holiday is given an entire month, right? And
Months.
so I know,
Girl.
right? And so I think, some of the things that I do, with my little one is that we have our Halloween traditions that we do that are not tied into October 31st. And we do them every year. And so that's now what he looks forward to every year. That's now what the big deal is, right? This is what is part of what defines Halloween. And you look for the things that can define Halloween for you, if indeed you celebrate. If you're listening, we're assuming that this is a thing for you. So it's one of my favorite holidays. I've got my orange on, you've got your Harry Potter. And so if it is something that is special to you or your kiddies or both, then it really is about how can we define Halloween that isn't tied into October 31st? And it really takes the power away from the abusive parent, the disordered parent.
Yeah. I really like that you're saying this because it's really understanding, recognizing those parts in us that want to fight or win or,
of course,
have justice and so forth. And those parts have their own interest and their own desires, but those are separate from the child's needs.
Right.
Right. And so arguing or getting upset about that specific date of October 31st, let's take Halloween as an example, versus the child's need for connection and attunement and being with and creating traditions around that so that the date isn't the thing, because the child's need is what's important, more important than any parts of us that are, at that moment, maybe wanting to like seek and be right. And so I think it's helpful to talk about this and be with those parts that are reactive and can maybe soften them by understanding them and communicating with them and saying, hey, it's really about what's important to so and so, and offering a reframe into that holiday experience like you're talking about.
Yeah.
And then if it does come up where the child is maybe sad or is having some big feelings about what's going on, the parent can better attune to the child's emotional needs by really being with their own parts and staying in self-leadership first. And that then can create that space that can hold the big emotions and work from a place of self-leadership and calm that creates that safe environment where the child, even in the middle of a custody battle, can feel supported. And then it's not so much about the date, but it's about the memories and connections that we make along the way.
I think it's important also for us to recognize that while the healthier parent can find a way to sort of reframe what what Halloween means to them, there's a lot of other stuff that goes on with the other parent that makes, the whole month of October, and especially the night of trick-or-treating or Halloween parties, difficult, right? Like not letting the child choose their own costume, making sure that the child's costume look, coordinating costumes is actually fun and cute. And somehow it manages to reach a point of weirdness with the narcissistic abuser, right? Like I've seen examples of for example, let's say the kiddo wants to be Thor, then the abuser decides they have to be Odin. There's almost something about, if you look at the way that it's done, sometimes there's a little bit of a lordship over even the costume, like a possession over even the costumed character that the child is choosing. And so I just want to sort of name that for people who are kind of like, is it just me? Because this sounds petty and trivial, but even the costume thing has gotten weird. Yeah. Yes, absolutely. There's just something in that narcissistic disorder that makes it so that you're dealing with costume battles, and suddenly your child has two costumes instead of one, which, look, sometimes there's a decent reason for that, but sometimes it's like, you can't wear that costume in my house, and next thing you know, your child's got a costume that they love and they wanted to wear that isn't allowed in the disordered parent's house. And so I think that there's really dealing with that monster that comes up.
It's so true. One parent is okay with Harry Potter. The other parent isn't okay with Harry Potter, right? Like that.
I think it's
type
more
of stuff.
They're not okay with it. Let's just be honest. They're not okay with it because the child chose it themselves under the healthier parents' watch. And so they will find some reason that they shouldn't be wearing it. Oh, the color is something they're afraid of. It's amazing what they'll come up with. But this is part of what is being dealt with. It's down to that, the neighborhood that they're going to trick or treat in. Are they allowed to have candy? What times of the day? Is it too dark? Is it not? It's like, just let it be a freaking holiday. But we find some of these struggles as well. And this is something I do not recommend parents do. When parents come to me and they're basically like, hey, we always split it. Then my first question is, how does that work for you, that you're telling me that, your co-parent gets the first half and you're getting the last half? How's that working out for you? And really, it's usually that it's not. They don't come back. Suddenly you've been preparing to trick or treat and you don't get a chance to because you've split it in half. I'm a big fan of just alternating it. And I want to name the fact that Halloween, interestingly enough, and there are elements of Christmas that does this too, but Halloween is hard because trick-or-treating tends to be the thing, because once they're going to parties, it's not with their parents. So there's, we talk about children 18 years, it's a much shorter, the capsule is smaller, the time capsule is smaller on this one, because it's basically right around, many parents say 12, 13, 14, the kids are not trick-or-treating anymore with you, right? So a lot of parents say by the time they're 12, that is the last one, 11, 12, whatever is the last time that you're trick-or-treating with them. And if we split that in half, Renee, if we go halfsies on this, then that means I'm only getting this many. But again, it's like, if you are defining Halloween as sort of the fall festival, all the things that can happen in October, picking pumpkins and decorating them, carving them, going and picking out costumes. And hey, if, for example, if dad's not going to let you wear the costume there, we're going to go to that trunk or treating event and you'll get to wear the costume there. We're going to get pictures of the costume. You can still make the costume special without adding, by the way, any of your own natural, organic, one-upmanship energy into it, but backing off of that and just enjoying the joy of what your child wanted to identify as. And you, as a healthier parent, are letting them choose that identity of their own for the night, and just kind of watching your energy around that. Wouldn't you agree?
I do agree. I do agree, especially with the one-upping part, because the natural, and I like how you said natural one-upping that occurs. And
fun, right?
It happens. It happens, especially
if we let it go,
I know. I also want to just maybe mention that these times can also feel heightened because a lot of them have to do with religious beliefs. I kind of don't want to go there, but we need to go there about this, right? Because it's really, it's innate beliefs that one parent may feel, the healthier parent may feel. And it's just sort of like, it's sort of somatically, these are parts of us that sort of sit. They've been with us for a really, really long time.
I mean, we want to fight. We want to,
Yeah. And so, and then we bring in sort of this religious, spiritual aspect of it. And then, so it's like those parts want to fight even more because it's sort of a higher power sort of thing involved in the situation. And it really can get, it can get quite escalated.
Or ultra cultural things, because, we tied into this as Day of the Dead, Dia de los Muertos.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot, there's more going on to this holiday for many people of different religions and cultures, but to me, I think the narcissist is still going to find, that disordered parent is still going to find their way into ruining it, whether it has to do with secular fun, whether it is religious fun, cultural fun, whatever it might be. They will very much, want to get in the middle of that.
I think that's so important to say, because it may feel like it's heightened, and I mean, and it is, and it may feel like, oh, okay, now they sort of have this thing that they can weaponize, right? It's just,
Yeah.
but it's no different than anything else they would choose off of the buffet of what they would pick to weaponize and give a reason to cause these shenanigans. It really is no different. I think you're spot on about that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, so, that's all for this week's episode of Courageous Custody. Before we go, just want to say, I hope that you are enjoying. I mean, the kids you're looking out the window right now while you're watching this, if you're watching this live and not on replay, and you're seeing what's going on out the window and seeing the kiddos that are out there and the families. And so I'm hoping that you have yourself an animatronic on your front lawn that is scaring the heck out of people and you're enjoying the view. But I do hope that you are finding some joy, even as your kiddos are out doing whatever they're doing without you. We are here. Thank you so much for joining us on this Halloween, whether live or on replay. We are so grateful to have helped and been with you in any way that we may have. We have some great takeaways for this week, from one thing I just want to say is, remember, October 31st does not define Halloween for you. And so that's what I will say.
Yes, absolutely. And just to, I know this isn't something that I mentioned earlier, but I'm going to give it as a takeaway right now, Renee. It's okay for you to eat some candy too.
Oh, yes.
It's okay. It's okay. Give yourself soften, give yourself some compassion. And really, another thing that we talked about a little bit is recognizing the parts of us and the parts that have specific desires, and being able to separate those parts from actually the needs of the child and put those needs of your kiddo first. But yeah, eat some candy too.
Mm-hmm. Reese's cups. Okay.
All right. Well, next week, join us again, 7 p.m. Eastern. Like or follow or bookmark us so that you can get the notifications and not miss anything, because what we're talking about might just catch you when you need it.
That's right. And don't forget to check the comments to get a free copy of the court appearance prep list. And you can go to thecustodyblueprint.com to learn about the different ways to get help in your case. And we also, preparing for holiday shenanigans workshop I talked about is now also available. And we'll have the link down there so that if you couldn't have joined us live when we did the workshop, which was so great and so wonderful, we did record it, and we do have that recording available at the link below.
All right. And if you want to leave some comments for us about topics that you would like Renee and I to discuss, please do. We'd love to discuss some of those in the future. To connect with me, I am on Instagram at ifs.achara. Send me a direct message with the word maps, and I'll send you just a few questions so you can help to get to know your parts a little bit better. Or you can set up a compassion chat with me at www.acharatarfa.com. So wherever you are listening, remember you're not alone. Until next week, stay strong, stay informed, and keep fighting for what matters most.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for joining.